Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chris and today we're reviewing a fragrance from the house of Mugler. So on today's video we have CUIR Impertinent by Thierry Mugler. This is what the bottle looks like. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? It is a heavy glass and heavy metal composition. Very beautiful. The lid itself is actual glass, which is very surprising. It is actual metal as well, which is very nice. This outer part is kind of like an acrylic. The inside part is glass. And then this entire structure of the bottle is glass and metal. Now, the thing about the Les Exceptions collection, if you are new to my channel, I have reviewed another two of these. I have reviewed Woodism, also reviewed Mystic Aromatic. And these, I actually complained a little bit in those videos about how these were kind of clunky and they kind of rattled and wiggled. The reason is if you actually end up getting one of these, because they can be found fairly easily on reseller websites, it's unclear if they're actually around still or if they're discontinued, because if you actually go onto Mugler's site, they show them, but they don't list them for sale. And there's no longer an option to click on the Les Exceptions collection for Mugler. This might be because they're reformulating them now that they're with L'Oreal, but the actual bottle itself is refillable, so you can take this part off. And when this part comes off or comes loose, the entire top kind of becomes hard to come off. It's not easy to come off itself. You kind of have to push it pretty hard and pull it pretty hard. But the bottle itself is absolutely gorgeous. It is high quality. It is extremely beautiful. And I do definitely think that if they go the route of reformulating them, that they don't change the packaging, because even though it's a little annoying, it is extremely beautiful. Just for comparisons, this one came in the old packaging, which is this guy here. This is what the box looks like. I got mine on fragrancebuy.ca. They are a fairly good source to buy from. They usually have them fairly cheap. A lot of these really expensive fragrances can be found at pennies on the dollar, essentially. So I did go that route. And the box for this one is the old one. Sorry, this is the cellophane that came inside to hold the bottle together. You do get an authenticity card with the actual fragrance itself. And then this is a nice little stand that your fragrance actually sits in. So you plop that in there. I actually did a shorts actually showing the packaging and it didn't do well like any other shorts I do, but this is what it looks like when you pull it out. Like I said, this is the older packaging, so bear in mind that the new one has changed. I have the new one here, and the new one is a little bit different. This is for another one of the fragrances. This is what you'll get if you get a newer edition. Stores like in the UK, Harrods does sell this collection. It's a little, like I said, weird to find because it's not readily available. But this is what the new box looks like. Very, very simple, very understated, very minimal. And you pull this guy out, which is a full like metal piece itself. And you open it up and your fragrance sits in there. And there's also an authenticity card for this. So this fragrance was launched in 2015. This one is actually a fragrance that, like I said, was launched with the prior distributor, which I believe was Clarins, and then Clarins sold it off to someone else, and then it was purchased by L'Oreal. And it's not just a fragrance line. In this case, it's the entire Thierry Mugler brand as a whole was sold. And yeah, this one itself was launched with a bunch of other ones. There's quite a bit of them out there that are part of the Les Exceptions collection. The perfumer for this fragrance is Jean-Christophe Harold. I'll put it down below here because I cannot pronounce it. But the perfumer is very talented to make this fragrance because it has a very Thierry Mugler-esque-ness to it, if that makes any sense, if that's even a word. By the way, if you want to give a round of applause for our guest audience factory, this is my team of investigators. They investigate and type in all the things to find out everything about a fragrance. So give a thumbs up for them. The fragrance itself only has two notes, which is star anise and leather. Obviously the name being CUIR, which is leather in French. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Hey Google, how do you say leather in French? So the actual pronunciation of this is cuir, kiwi, cuir. The actual interpretation of CUIR is cuir, and it's not queer. I've heard that before too. I can't actually pronounce it fully well with the French accent, but I say CUIR because everyone reads it like that in English. But this is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fragrance. It is reminiscent of the Thierry Mugler DNA. So you kind of get a vibe of alien, you kind of get a vibe of angel in here, and you get a vibe of the other Les Exceptions collection and the other fragrances within its line. It is woodsy, it is sexy, it is smoky, a hint of spiciness, and a little bit of sweetness in there. And it's a very well-rounded fragrance. Now, I will say if you're looking for a absolute leather beast fragrance such as Tuscan leather or African leather or any other of those leather scents that are very prominent when it comes to leather itself, this is not going to be your friend because it is a very well blended fragrance to the point where you really can't tell what you're smelling, and it can come off a little too well blended, if you know what I mean. And this fragrance is still available online. You're still able to find sellers that sell this fragrance online. I've seen it on Fragrance X, I've seen it on fragrancebuy.ca, which is where I bought this guy at. And there's quite a bit of other sellers that do have this one listed. It's not going to break the bank. If I remember correctly, the price point for all of these were $300-ish dollars. That's probably what they're at now. They probably were like at $250 if I remember correctly. They're a very beautiful line. I think they're a very misunderstood and understated line. I think that this line is extremely versatile. It's extremely wearable. It is very nice, especially for the fall winter season that we are approaching. It is a fragrance that can be worn, it can warm up the skin, it can warm up your wardrobe, and really pull someone's attention towards you, which is a really nice fragrance to have, especially when it's cold out, when it's rainy out like it is today. But I would say that this fragrance is very much in the middle line of being versatile for men and women. A lot of sources do say that it's a little bit leaning masculine. I beg to differ because I think that a woman could actually wear this one just as much as a guy would. And typically you kind of have them leaning either too feminine or too masculine. And this fragrance overall to me is extremely versatile, extremely wearable. It is a little bit more dressed up, if you will. It's not going to be so much dressed down. It is a fragrance that is, like I said, wearable year-round, but it shines especially when it comes to the fall and winter season. Now, it's unclear if this fragrance actually does have refills because, like I said, they do have this top that comes off. Thierry Mugler was one of the first, if not the first brand to sell refills. So you would take your bottle into the store and they would refill your Angel or your Alien or what else was it? The green one, or I think it was called. You could refill those fragrances and get a pretty good discount. Now, this one itself does have that actual capability of doing it. But like I said, it's a little weird. I'm not sure what L'Oreal is actually going to do with Mugler because it is such a legacy brand. It is a brand that is very much known for fragrance. I mean, they came out with some of the most revolutionary fragrances, I think, aside from Chanel. Mugler is one of those that really has set their own path, has really come far and long from everyone else. They kind of don't follow the conventions that everyone else does. Chanel's starting to do that. Mugler still kind of follows their own path. But I think with L'Oreal, we're going to see them become a lot more conventional. We're going to see them become a lot more boring. And we're going to see them have a fragrance that is sweet and powdery like every other fragrance like Mon Paris and Libre and all of these fragrances, I'm sorry, are just not my cup of tea. Hopefully that's not the case and I am incorrect and we get to see a lot more master creations like this one here. I certainly think that I am interested in probably collecting the entire range because I'm late to the party. There's quite a bit of reviews out there. There's quite a bit of missing reviews on these guys. But I do think that if you like a very creative fragrance that has a lot of artisticness to it, then definitely check out this range because you are not going to be disappointed. I'm fairly disappointed typically whenever I buy these upper range of fragrances and they kind of smell just like their generic counterparts that are sitting at the department store. But this one itself did not disappoint, as Thierry Mugler never does with fragrance. By the way, this is not sponsored. I know I probably sound sponsored here, like, oh my God, it's so great, it's so good. No, I'm not sponsored. I wish I was, but I'm not. But I do really, really like the range itself, and I really appreciate this fragrance. I hope you are able to smell it and try it yourself. Well, that is today's video, you guys. What do you guys think of this fragrance, CUIR Impertinent? Have you smelled it before? Have you not smelled it? Let me know all of that down in the comments. Also, make sure to give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more fragrance-related content. And I hope to see you on the next video. Bye.